In my past life, I gave up being a proper heiress of a conglomerate and insisted on being a doormat. I poured my heart and soul into raising an ungrateful wretch. As I met my end in the underworld, Louis was basking in glory, using my money to woo women. I couldn't accept it. Returning from Rebirth, this time when I saw Louis being bullied and mocked by his classmates, I did not save him. Louis, sinking into the mud. This is the life you deserve. The first time I met Louis was at the start of my junior year. He had transferred to our major through the postgraduate entrance exam, wearing a faded shirt, sitting upright with a straight back. Beneath his slightly furrowed, thick brows were a pair of unusually bright eyes. Perhaps it was his incongruous demeanor that made me unable to help but see him differently, quietly observing his every move. Until that day. Louis was cornered at the cafeteria entrance by a group of fierce-looking youths who cursed loudly and pointed at him accusingly. "Your old man owes us on a loan shark debt, so you should pay it back. Today either you hand over the money or we'll beat you to death, your choice." It was mealtime and many students were passing by, all watching the spectacle from the sidelines. Louis's thin body trembled slightly, clearly out of fear. At that moment, I stepped forward and handled the trouble for him. I was originally the daughter of a wealthy merchant in the northern city, from a well-off family. $1 million was nothing, it wasn't even worth as much as the handbag in my hand. But Louis took it to heart, speaking in a stiff and distant tone, stubbornly insisting on paying me back. I looked at the young man's slender, fair face and couldn't help but fall for him. I threw myself into this relationship unilaterally, treating him well without expecting anything in return. I covered Louis's living expenses, bought him designer clothes and bags, and turned down all my admirers for him. But Louis remained cold toward me, never once reciprocating my feelings. It wasn't until the year of graduation that he came to me on his own, asking me to arrange a job for his childhood sweetheart. This is what he said: "Yaya is very smart, it's just that she doesn't have a high level of education. Otherwise, she wouldn't have to ask you. In return, I'm willing to join your family's company. You know, with my abilities. I could have had better options." How could I bear to refuse Louis? Even though I had my doubts, I still arranged for Yaya to join the company. But I never expected that Louis and Yaya had already been secretly involved. The two of them conspired to cheat my family out of our business, and even staged a car accident that took the lives of my entire family. After the car accident, I lay on the hospital bed, unable to open my eyes. I heard the voice of my best friend, Yaya, by my ear. "Brother Lou, do you think we went too far? After all, Li Shiqing once helped you." Yaya was crying like a pear blossom in the rain, and Louis held her with concern. "Yaya, don't sympathize with them. The Li family is insincere and never took me seriously. What happened today is their own fault." I lay alone in bed, my body torn with pain, as I heard Louis say, "This car accident was just an accident. Li Shiqing's parents are both dead. And she's barely holding on with her last breath, but the doctor said it's hard for her to wake up." Yaya let out a sharp laugh. "So she's going to be a vegetable? Humph, serves her right," she coquettishly whined to Louis. "Brother Lou, I hate this woman. Why don't you think of another way to let her die in the hospital? Look at her now, her face covered in blood, so disgusting. I'm about to throw up." Yaya belittled me like this, and Louis even went along with her. "Be good if it's disgusting. Don't look. I'll take you to get something delicious. Think about it, from now on, the Li family's business will all be mine." "Great," Yaya looked smug, like a petty villain who had gotten her way. Before leaving, she pulled out my pain pump and said viciously, "Suffer to death. You bitch. Go die already." The hospital door opened and closed, and excruciating pain shot straight to my brain. On the verge of death, I mustered my last breath, opening my eyes wide with fury. That scumbag and that bitch, they made me die with my eyes wide open in resentment. Reborn and returned, I was still groggy when I heard my roommate Qin Fong calling me. Ching, wake up, class is over, let's go eat, where is this? Qin Fong patted my shoulder. You didn't sleep yourself silly, did you? What a rare sight, even the top student dozes off in class. She urged me, hurry up, let's go. I want to eat chicken cutlet today, so let's get there early to line up. Walking through the familiar campus and seeing the vivid faces from my memories, I finally confirmed it. I have been reborn. At the entrance of the cafeteria, I could see a bustling crowd from afar. Some were cursing and shouting Lu Yi's name. Lu Yi. Qin Fong looked at me. Ching, did you hear that, I suppressed the smile at the corner of my mouth. I not only heard it, but I also knew exactly what was happening now. Lu Yi was cornered by debt collectors. And those people wouldn't leave until they got their money. But this time, I would never help him again. I grabbed Qin Fong, who was eager to join the fray, and shook my head at her. Don't bother with the commotion. Let's go eat me treat. No way, Qin Fong was shocked. Ching. Lu Yi's in trouble, and you're just going to ignore it. In the past, had a crush on Lu Yi, and Qin Fong saw it all and even advised me. You're a noble lady who lives above worldly concerns, but Lu Yi is just a poor boy truly mismatched. Besides, I always felt that he seemed aloof and kept people at a distance, yet his eyes were eerie and didn't seem like those of a good person. Unfortunately, I wouldn't listen back then, and I paid a heavy price before finally coming to my senses. I smiled at Qin Fong and said, I've suddenly come to realize you're right. Lu Yi isn't worthy of me. That's more like it, Qin Fong nodded with satisfaction. Alright, let's go. Who cares anyway? I walked through the crowd without sparing a single glance at Lu Yi. But fate had other plans. Lu Yi happened to get hit and stumbled right at my feet. Our eyes met. He was utterly disheveled, his gaze fierce and ruthless, like a wolf backed into a corner. I said coldly, You're blocking my way. Please move aside. Lu Yi didn't move. His face was full of disbelief as he stared at me intently. You. Move. Taking advantage of the chaos. I kicked his hand away and left without looking back. I don't know how Lu Yi managed to deal with those people later. The next day in class, he was already sitting in the classroom early. When he saw me come in, he actually took the initiative to invite me. Li Shiqing. You can sit next to me. There were still bruises on his face, and with his cold expression, it looked utterly ridiculous. I deeply suspected that I must have been blind in my past life to think Lu Yi was a decent person. I sneered and said, No need. I'm not familiar with classmate Lu. Li Shiqing. Lu Yi was rejected and felt somewhat annoyed. He turned to ask me, What are you playing at? Don't you like me? I'm giving you a chance now. Come sit over here. Pfft, I couldn't help but laugh. Classmate Lu. Don't flatter yourself too much. How blind would I have to be to actually like a jinx like you? Lu Yi was left speechless. Li Shiqing, don't you regret this? How ridiculous. I couldn't be bothered to deal with him, so I found a quiet spot and focused on finishing the class. I never expected that Lu Yi, who was so aloof and distant in my past life, could be this persistent. In front of the girls' dormitory at night, couples were reluctant to part, pouring out their feelings to each other. Lu Yi stood under the street lamp, his cold gaze darkening the moment he saw me. Where have you been? Why are you only coming back now? I'm really fed up. Lu Yi, is that any of your business? I turned to leave, but he grabbed my wrist, squeezing so hard it hurt. I shook him off irritably. What exactly do you want, Li Shiqing? Lu Yi paused before speaking. I was wrong before. I shouldn't have neglected you. How about this? You pay off the debt for me, and I'll seriously consider dating you. Lu Yi, you've got some nerve. Do I look that stupid? what makes you think I'd be willing to be your scapegoat? I looked at Lu Yi, a surge of malice rising in my heart. And couldn't help sneering, judging by your appearance, Lu, things haven't been going well for you lately, have they? Why don't you go get a job, save up some money while you're young and strong, so you won't end up unable to pay tuition and getting kicked out? Li Shiqing, you bitch. How dare you talk about brother Lu like that? I was shoved from behind, and turning around, I saw Lu Yeye baring her teeth, standing in front of Lu Yi. Li Shiqing, just because your family is rich, does that make you so great? Who gave you the right to insult brother Lu? Apologize to him right now. Well, today's off to a bad start. I've run into these two enemies who got me killed in my past life, one after another. What rotten luck. I patted the mud off the hem of my skirt, staring at them coldly, and sneered, Lu Yeye, right? I heard you and Lu Yi grew up together, and you dropped out of high school to work. If I do the math, you should have saved up quite a bit by now. I raised an eyebrow. Since you care so much about Lu Yi, why don't you just fork over the money? Pay off that $1 million for him. Maybe if he's touched enough, he'll agree to be with you. What are you talking about? Lu Yeye's face flushed and she stammered, that was all hard-earned money, and it's not nearly enough, okay? If you don't want to pay. At least don't sow discord. She turned to look at Lu Yi. Brother Lu, don't let her fool you. How ridiculous. I walked past them and headed straight for the dormitory building. Talking to an idiot is truly a waste of life. I've been foolish once in my life, and I will never, ever be stupid again. After that night, Lu Yi didn't come to see me for a long time. According to Qin Fong, Lu Yi's father owed money and refused to pay it back, and was beaten severely by debt collectors. Lu Yi had to take leave to go back and take care of him. Boys his age should be full of vitality and boundless possibilities. Lu Yi is quite talented, but burdened by his family, truly a pity. The school learned of his situation and approved a special grant for him, which barely alleviates some of the difficulties. But none of this has anything to do with me. Living a second life. I finally understand what is most precious in this world. On days without classes, I go home to reunite with my parents, watching them in good health and chatting about family matters, feeling deeply wistful. In my past life, I was bewitched by Lu Yi, often arguing with my parents over him. After graduation, I proposed marrying Lu Yi. My mother disagreed, earnestly trying to persuade me, only to have me run away from home. They couldn't talk me out of it, and in the end, despite their deep reluctance, they had no choice but to accept Lu Yi. Countless nights, my mother would call me in tears, begging me to come to my senses. Qingqing, how could you be so foolish? Lu Yi doesn't have you in his heart, why can't you see that? My father, even more disappointed, said Qingqing. Do you have to tear this family apart to be satisfied? At that time, I was like under a spell, unable to listen to anything. It wasn't until Lu Yi arranged for us to rent a car for a trip, turning onto a remote path, that the brakes suddenly failed. And the car careened out of control off the cliff. In that moment of near death, I finally came to my senses. Regretting all these years, what exactly had I been doing? In this new life, I will be the most considerate little sweetheart. Obediently following my father's arrangements and starting an internship at the company. My mother arranged a blind date for me. The other party was a very outstanding young man, 5 years older than me, and from a family of equal standing to mine. At first, my mother worried that I wouldn't cooperate, but she never expected that Cheng Yu and I would hit it off more and more, quickly confirming our relationship. In my senior year of college, our two families sat together and held a warm engagement ceremony for us. Cheng Yu was knowledgeable and experienced. Every day spent with him was incredibly fulfilling. Under his guidance, I quickly adapted to the workplace. After participating in 2 major projects, my father acknowledged my abilities and entrusted me with managing the branch office. He was deeply gratified and would tell everyone, in my entire life. The thing I am most proud of is having Qingqing as my wonderful daughter. As life became more fulfilling, I gradually forgot about Lu Yi. All my past life experiences felt like nothing more than a dream. But I forgot someone as extremely arrogant as him doesn't understand what it means to back down in the face of difficulty. In the second semester of senior year, students were, as usual, required to go out for internships. Those with connections could find their own placements, those without simply had to obediently follow the school's arrangements. But Lu Yi was an exception. He blocked me in front of the dormitory building. Just as I happened to come back to grab something, and he caught me right there. Li Shiqing, Lu Yi was completely unceremonious, grabbing my arm and bombarding me with questions. Why haven't I seen you around lately? You're still a student. And you're never at school. What kind of behavior is that? He said confidently. Li Shiqing, my GPA is in the top 3 of our grade. I'll definitely get into a big company in the future. You need to work on improving yourself too. Or you won't be worthy of me. The happy life I've been living recently has greatly diminished the hostility within me. I didn't snap back at Lu Yi. Instead, I tried to keep a pleasant expression and patiently asked him, classmate Lu, what business do you have lurking around the girls' dormitory like a creep, you? Lu Yi frowned, looking rather displeased. Li Shiqing, isn't your family running a company? Arrange a job for Lu Yeye. She may not have gone to college, but she's smart and hardworking. In return, I'll agree to help out at your family's company. You know, with my abilities, I could have better options. Lu Yi's bewildering speech left me stunned for a moment. You mean you and Lu Yeye want to work at my company? Yes. Lu Yi stood upright, without a trace of shame. This shouldn't be hard for you. Li Shiqing, as long as you help us, I'll let bygones be bygones. What a train of thought, truly impressive. I deeply admire Lu Yi, his self-aggrandizing temperament is truly rare in this world. Out of a principle of protecting endangered species, I didn't refuse him. Well, this matter isn't entirely out of the question. I pretended to look troubled. Lu Yi, we were classmates after all. Since you've brought it up, I won't beat around the bush. I can arrange something for you, but the company has its rules. Lu Yeye only has a middle school education, so the job options might be limited. Lu Yi, for once, showed some understanding. I get it. I'll talk to her. Good. I knew you weren't unreasonable. Seeing me relent, Lu Yi tested the waters. Li Shiqing, I've been thinking a lot while you were away. I was too hasty before. The fact that you agreed to help me today must mean you still have feelings for me. So, how about we? Before Lu Yi could finish speaking, my phone rang abruptly. It was Cheng Yu calling. The look of defeat on Lu Yi's face was so amusing that I couldn't help but laugh out loud during the call, which piqued Cheng Yu's curiosity. Ching, what are you laughing at? I glanced at Lu Yi. And an idea immediately came to mind. I turned away and covered my phone. Cheng Yu, there's going to be a good show in a few days. Lu Yi gave me a big red scarf, saying it was a return gift. Yeye knitted this herself. The color suits you well. I looked disdainfully at the red scarf covered in fuzz and reluctantly accepted it. Lu Yi stepped forward and said he would put it on for me. I kept stepping back and waving my hands, saying no need. It's actually quite hot today. I'm afraid of getting heat rash. All right then. Lu Yi reluctantly stopped. Li Shiqing, when can I start work? So that's what he was getting at, I smiled. Anytime you want, I've already arranged everything. Upon hearing this, Lu Yi immediately felt relieved and nodded approvingly. With such a generous attitude, you'll definitely get along well with Yeye in the future. That puts my mind at ease. I nodded in agreement, luring Lu Yi into letting down his guard. When they arrived for their report, Lu Yeye, dressed in a cheap leather jacket and pants, swaggered in and said, "Where's Li Shiqing? Tell her to come out and see me." The manager had been waiting at the door early on. When they arrived, he took out 2 sets of uniforms and handed them to Lu Yi. Here. These are your work uniforms. Change into them and get to work right away. Even though it was arranged by General Li, you still need to follow the rules. What kind of behavior is this, shouting and making a scene? Lu Yeye was reprimanded as soon as she arrived, losing face. And started clamoring to find me and argue. The manager wasn't buying her act. General Li is a busy man and has no time for you. Applying for a receptionist position and you actually think you're someone important. What? A receptionist? Lu Yeye finally realized something was off. She looked at Lu Yi, who was even more embarrassed. Brother Lu, that's a security guard's uniform. She made a scene like a shrew, shouting so loudly that passers-by stopped to watch. And Lu Yi felt utterly embarrassed. But he managed to stay rational, scolding Lu Yeye and comforting her to make do for now. I'll find a chance to ask Li Shiqing. It must be a mistake. What he didn't know was that I had just taken on a major project at that moment. Leading a team on a business trip abroad and wouldn't be back for a month. Before leaving, I specifically instructed the manager to take good care of Lu Yi and Lu Yeye. Lu Yeye is lazy and gluttonous, vain, and has a history of theft. Right under my nose. She still didn't know when to stop and was caught clearly on surveillance. The manager threatened to fire her. Lu Yi called to plead for her, and I pretended to be reluctantly agreeing to let Lu Yeye off the hook. After this incident, he couldn't bring up the topic of changing positions for a while and had no choice but to grit his teeth and carry on. Lu Yi was 1.8 meters tall, but due to long-term malnutrition, he had a rather thin and frail build. Coupled with his fair skin, he exuded a cool, ethereal beauty that was quite eye-catching. Lu Yi was assigned to oversee security on the top floor, where the people coming and going were all wealthy. There were plenty of women who took a liking to Lu Yi, dropping hints openly or secretly. But he turned them all down. Lu Yi prided himself on being aloof, but Lu Yeye didn't see it that way. She clung to Lu Yi, hoping to change her fate through him. How could she ever let him leave her? Through Lu Yeye's careful scheming. A drunken indiscretion led to Lu Yi sleeping with her. The girl shed tears of grievance. Brother Lu, now I'm yours. You have to make sure I live a good life. She didn't stop to think how he could possibly support her on just 3,000 yuan a month. And so, Lu Yi remained unfulfilled at work, only to come home and face the unrealistic expectations of his childhood sweetheart. In just 1 month, he aged several years. After I returned to China, Lu Yi asked to meet me at a cafe near the company. I was dressed in a custom-tailored suit, exuding an air of smug elegance. In contrast, Lu Yi looked even more like a country bumpkin. At this point, he had nothing left but his overwhelming arrogance. Li Shiqing. Go tell the manager right now to transfer me to a different position. He disdainfully pulled off his own work badge. I'm so outstanding, I can't just keep working as a security guard forever, right? Let me be your project manager, and I can create greater value for you. And Yeye. She's young and pretty, perfect to be your secretary. He was still so confident, relying on the little bit of affection I once had for him, urging me. It's settled then. Go make the arrangements when you get back. Lu Yi was too impatient. He had never once questioned why I would listen to him. He finally got the transfer order he had been waiting for, and with Lu Yeye in tow, he charged to the top floor like a proud rooster, eager to let the whole world know. Look, no matter how capable Li Shiqing is, doesn't she still have to listen to me? As for the two of them, I held back my temper and carefully set a trap, just waiting for them to fall into it. In my past life, Lu Yi used my name to get promoted, gradually infiltrating the company's power structure. He deceived everyone by falsifying the company's financial statements, fabricating baseless economic crimes, and causing a series of troubles for his father. Although it was eventually proven to be a misunderstanding, This incident exhausted his father to the point of hospitalization, and his energy was never the same as before. Taking advantage of this, Liu Yi seized control of the company's main operations and, instigated by Liu Yeye, further harbored malicious intentions. What he wanted was not just money, but the lives of my entire family. This time, I didn't make things difficult for Liu Yi. Instead, I did my best to provide him with resources, letting him fully showcase his abilities. Admittedly, Liu Yi does have some talent. If he could stay grounded, given time, there's still a chance he could succeed. Unfortunately, he has never been one to play fair. Liu Yi landed 2 big deals in a row, earned a hefty bonus, and got carried away. Liu Yeye, dressed in a flashy Chanel-style outfit, danced over to show off in front of me. Li Shiqing, I told you long ago that brother Liu is a rising star. Too bad you didn't know how to appreciate him. Now he's mine. And it's useless for you to envy me. I really admire her brain. How can it be dumber than a donkey's? Feigning disappointment, I said, you're right. I've already lost Liu Yi, so you'd better keep a close eye on him. I've heard that plenty of girls in the company have a crush on Liu Yi. With my exaggerated embellishments, Liu Yeye kept an even tighter watch on Liu Yi. Unable to bear it, Liu Yi proposed a breakup for the first time. Liu Yeye resorted to crying, throwing tantrums, and threatening suicide, coercing Liu Yi into dropping the idea. But once a crack appears in a relationship, it's hard to restore it to its original state. This time, with me no longer in the middle. Liu Yi wasn't necessarily that deeply devoted to Liu Yeye. The look in his eyes as he glanced at me carried an unmistakable curiosity, and several times he seemed on the verge of speaking but held back. I saw it all clearly. That day, I called Liu Yi over and closed the office door. There's a banquet this week where you can meet many industry big shots. If you're free, come with me. Liu Yi agreed without a second thought. No problem. I chuckled. Don't you need to discuss it with Liu Yeye? No need. Liu Yi frowned. Why would I discuss my own matters with her, heh? I laughed ambiguously. Don't be like that. Liu Yeye is just concerned about you. After all, back in school, she was always on your side. My words carried a hidden meaning. And Liu Yi naturally understood. He let out a light snort. She's just an inexperienced woman who will never amount to anything, unlike you. Before he could finish, the door suddenly swung open. Liu Yeye stood there holding a cup of coffee, glaring fiercely at Liu Yi. What were you two doing in there, and why did you close the door? Liu Yi tried to explain, but Liu Yeye wouldn't listen and splashed the scalding coffee on him. Liu Yi panicked, his face turning terrifyingly dark. Liu Yeye, have you lost your mind? The two of them were pulling and tugging at each other. Liu Yeye's makeup was smudged, and her earring was yanked off, causing her to wince in pain. I watched coldly from the sidelines, utterly bored and annoyed. I called the security guards to come up and take them both away. On the day of the banquet, Liu Yi came to find me early to confirm the time once again. I noticed a small scratch on his brow and teased with a smile, you and Liu Yeye really do have a great relationship, don't you? He remained silent, so I continued to stoke the fire. Since I was a kid, I've seen plenty of men turn bad once they have money, changing their hearts and finding mistresses. It's all too common. Someone as devoted as you is truly rare. Liu Yi spoke up. Li Shiqing, actually, I have something to tell you. Oh, sorry about that. I glanced at the time and cut him off. I have to go meet a client. Let's talk tonight. Humph, what a joke, thinking you're worthy of confessing to me. I deliberately kept Liu Yi hanging, making him yearn for what he couldn't have, so he would slip up. Tonight's banquet was of a very high standard, with guests entering only by invitation. Liu Yi arrived early but was stopped outside, frowning as he called me. I arrived a little late, holding onto Cheng Yu's arm. We made a perfect couple, turning heads with 100% attention rate. Lu Yi, I'm over here. I waved at him, satisfied to catch a flicker of surprise on Lu Yi's face, but pretended not to notice and smiled as I walked over. Sorry about that, I had to wait for my boyfriend to pick me up. So I'm a bit late. You don't mind, do you? Cheng Yu, seasoned in the business world, carried an imposing aura that naturally commanded respect, leaving Lu Yi fuming with no outlet for his anger. It's nothing, he suppressed his emotions, go on in. Lu Yi turned around, revealing the black line at the nape of his neck. I feigned surprise and exclaimed softly, Lu Yi, wait, there's something dirty on your clothes. I gave it a hard tug and pulled out the clothing tag. The atmosphere instantly became awkward. I let go of his hand, feeling embarrassed. Lu Yi, you really know how to make ends meet. This is a 7-day no questions asked return policy, right? Then you'd better be careful to date and spill any drinks on it, or they won't take it back. After saying that, ignoring Lu Yi's embarrassed expression, I took Cheng Yu's arm and walked away with an elegant, confident stride. When the banquet reached its midpoint, Cheng Yu pulled me aside. Ching, look at the person you brought has no sense of the occasion. I followed his gaze and saw Lu Yi holding a wine glass, chatting animatedly with the heiress of the brand. He had good taste, but unfortunately, his luck was poor. The woman came from a distinguished family and had been engaged since last year. It was said that her fiancé had a rather bad temper. I couldn't help but smile. This play I'm getting more and more eager to see it unfold. Cheng Yu asked curiously. What exactly are you planning that you won't even tell me? I smiled and gave him a wink. Don't rush, look over there. At the entrance of the hotel venue, Lu Yi, wearing a low-cut, waist-bearing puffy dress and heavy smoky eye makeup, was arguing with the security guard. My boyfriend is inside, why won't you let me in? The security guard, seasoned and sharp-eyed, could tell at a glance that Lu Yi was a low-class type. Seeing her being unreasonable, he moved to grab her. Hey, don't touch me. Lu Yi crossed her arms over her chest, glaring at the security guard warily, and shouted for Lu Yi at the top of her lungs. Brother Lu, I'm over here, this security guard is trying to grope Meckham quick. Everyone present was a person of some standing. Hearing the commotion, they all turned to look at the entrance. Under the gaze of the crowd, Lu Yi's face flushed red as he walked toward Lu Yi. Instead of inviting her in, he blocked the doorway, using his body to shield Lu Yi from view. This is no place for you. Go back now. Lu Yi was instantly furious. Lu Yi, what do you mean by that? Are you looking down on me now? When you were in bed with me, you didn't think I wasn't good enough then, did you? Lu Yi was used to being crude, but Lu Yi cared about his reputation. Hearing this, he immediately lost his composure. He grabbed Lu Yi's hand and desperately tried to drag her out. Lu Yi, let go of me. In the struggle, Lu Yi plopped down onto the ground, the zipper of her dress coming undone, revealing the snowy white of her chest. Ah! Lu Yi let out a sharp scream, followed by another torrent of curses like a storm. Lu Yi, you heartless bastard, you faithless scoundrel, shameless. Sneaking around behind my back with other women, I'll never let you off easy. Think I'm embarrassing you? Well, I won't let you have your way. If I'm humiliated, you won't get off scot-free either, Lu Yi wailed like a banshee, becoming the most dazzling spectacle of the night. The socialites and ladies present watched the spectacle with great relish, occasionally exchanging whispers, clearly lumping Lu Yi and Lu Yi together as the same type of people. Poor Lu Yi, who had hoped to network through this banquet, now seemed to have drawn a blank. The next day, Lu Yi didn't come to work. On the third day, word from HR was that Lu Yi had taken a full 7 days of annual leave in one go. He is still on probation. The manager came to ask for my opinion, and I smiled and said, it's fine, just let him be. In my past life, I already knew that Lu Yi was no pushover. If Lu Yi was vain and cold, then Lu Yi was genuinely malicious. But I never expected that she would start a live stream on a video website. twisting the truth and falsely accusing me of being a heartless player who plays with people's feelings. She sat in front of the camera, looking pitiful as she made her accusations. Liu Yi and I grew up together as childhood sweethearts. Liu Yi was smart from a young age and very handsome, which caught Li Shiqing's eye. Relying on her family's wealth, she hired people to intimidate Liu Yi, forcibly tearing us apart. In the photos Liu Yeye released, the people shown were clearly debt collectors who had come to demand payment. Yet they were used as solid evidence against me. Liu Yeye, with tears streaming down her face, accused me. Liu Yi could have had a bright future, but Li Shiqing forced him into her family's company. After he started working, she repeatedly abused her power for personal gain, using Liu Yi as a pawn to seduce female clients. Liu Yi is an upright person, so of course he refused to listen to her. Li Shiqing turned her back on him, pretending to take Liu Yi to a cocktail party, but in reality, it was to humiliate him. Look. Liu Yeye, in order to bring me down, did not hesitate to release her own indecent photos, covering her face and crying in grievance. Liu Yi and I are both children of ordinary families. We're just poor. Why should we be trampled on by women from wealthy families? Liu Yeye's live stream was recorded into a short video by netizens, causing a stir like a stone thrown into still water. A video was labeled "Rich Girl Plays with Emotions" and spread rapidly across the internet. Beyond the screen, netizens launched a barrage of criticism, overwhelmingly siding with Liu Yeye, and began doxing me online. This time, I truly witnessed the terror of rumors. Cheng Yu, afraid I couldn't handle it, came to my home to comfort me. Ching, I'll find someone to help you solve this. No. Cheng Yu. I stopped him. Now is not the time. 3 days later, I finally received Liu Yi's call. Li Shiqing, these past few days, have you been okay? I curled my lip. Thanks to you, my ancestors back 18 generations have all been cursed out. On the other end of the phone, Liu Yi sighed. I'm sorry. I didn't want this either. He said, I can come forward and clear things up for you, but you have to promise me a promotion and a raise. I rubbed my temples, wishing I could tear his mouth apart right then and there. Liu Yi, you're even more shameless than I imagined. Want a promotion? Dream on. After I refused, Liu Yi stopped hiding his true colors and threatened, Li Shiqing, if you can't have me, you want to destroy me. Do you believe I'll destroy you first? I was so angry I almost threw my phone. Alright, I'll be watching, as the saying goes. The shameless are invincible. In Liu Yeye's second live stream, Liu Yi also appeared on screen. With a refined and elegant appearance, he sat calmly before the camera, speaking in a measured tone. Every word he uttered was an accusation against me. He said, Li Shiqing, as long as you stop making things difficult for Yeye, I am willing to be with you. As if before, I could still grit my teeth and endure all kinds of things, but Liu Yi personally stepping in to tear into me stirred up the netizens' outrage. And some even went so far as to harass my parents, splashing paint on my front door. Even more outrageous, someone sent a funeral wreath to the company in the dead of night, scaring the security guard so much that he called the police on the spot. The situation escalated further. And Cheng Yu came to me again, insisting on stepping in on my behalf. Ching, I can't stand them slandering you like this. I held his hand back, drawing strength from his embrace. Cheng Yu, help me register an account. In this life and the past, there is no need to involve anyone else between Liu Yi and me. Isn't it just live streaming? Who can't do that? Since keyboard warriors only believe what they see, I'll gather evidence and lay all the facts before them. Liu Yeye stole from the company and threw a tantrum at the cocktail party. All of it was caught on surveillance as evidence. Liu Yeye can cry, but I'll cry even more pitifully than she does. I went barefaced, with red and swollen eyes, recounting the whole story word by word. From the time I met Liu Yi, he repeatedly guilt-tripped me, demanding money and job opportunities. Lu Yeye plays both sides, a classic case of gaining an advantage while pretending to be innocent, like a shameless vampire, confusing right and wrong. And has seriously threatened my personal safety. I have already called the police. Lu Yeye deliberately created conflicts, ruined my reputation, and violated my privacy. She will surely face severe legal punishment. Of course. I understand the principle of knowing when to stop. At the end of the live stream, I specifically said, I know the vast majority of netizens are innocent, and I know you have also been used by Lu Yeye. I'm sorry for wasting your precious time because of the issues between us. Here. On her behalf, I apologize to everyone. This move undoubtedly earned me a lot of goodwill. Overnight, public opinion completely shifted. Because I was clear-headed and decisive in my actions, I gained a large number of followers. They followed the trail, took notice of my company's business, and voluntarily helped me spread the word. The sales of the company's products increased significantly. And I ended up being the biggest winner. The dirty water that Lu Yi and Lu Yeye poured on me will eventually backfire on them. The matter hasn't ended here yet. Lu Yi and Lu Yeye are ambitious and ruthless. They killed me in my past life. How could mere moral condemnation be enough? In fact, ever since Lu Yeye joined the company, I have had someone monitoring her. Lu Yeye is vain, and now Lu Yi can no longer satisfy her appetite. She was restless even when working as a receptionist and soon seduced a married man, becoming his secret mistress. On the surface, however, she still pretended to adore Lu Yi, urging him to work hard and earn money to support the family. Their relationship was already as fragile as walking on thin ice. This incident has undoubtedly made things worse. I just didn't expect Lu Yeye to be so bold. After the detention ended, Lu Yeye suddenly said her stomach hurt. It wasn't until she went to the hospital for a checkup that she found out she was pregnant. Judging by the timing, it doesn't seem to be Lu Yi's child. She didn't care and kept crying and making a scene, insisting that Lu Yi take responsibility. Marry me and give me a betrothal gift of $1 million. If you don't, I'll keep making a scene. Lu Yi knew she was capable of doing it, so with no other choice, he had to come and beg me. He called me and said, Li Shiqing, give me $1 million and I'll let bygones be bygones. I'll forgive you. At that time, I was on a date with Cheng Yu. The night sky over the northern part of the city was brilliant with stars, making it a truly pleasant evening. I laughed and said, Lu Yi, you wish. He grew anxious. Li Shiqing, what do you mean by that? Consider this money as a loan from me. With my abilities, I'll pay it back soon. Ha, what big talk, I let out a cold snort. Lu Yi, you're overthinking it, didn't HR tell you? You're fired. Now you're a big name online, everyone in the industry knows you're a scumbag. Who would still work with you? My little operation here can't afford someone of your caliber. I lowered my head, took a sip of tea, and let out a long sigh. Lu Yi, I forgot to tell you I'm getting married. You and I, we're worlds apart. What makes you think I would help you? People like you deserve to have a hard time. I'm so happy to see you're not doing well. My wedding date is set for 6 months from now. The wedding preparations were incredibly tedious. Cheng Yu was meticulous about every detail, insisting on only the best. Which really wore me out. I heard news about Lu Yi again at a class reunion. Lu Yi went to prison. After Lu Yeye gave birth to the child, her true nature was fully exposed. She was lazy, gluttonous, and had an unbearable temper. Lu Yi, disturbed by her behavior, endured it all for the sake of the child. But one accident finally made him discover that the child was not his own. What was even worse, Lu Yeye still couldn't stay put. She was sneaking around behind her back with older men, making the cuckold's hat shine bright. Lu Yi broke down and laid hands on Lu Yeye. In the heat of the moment, the two lost their minds, and during the struggle, Liu Yi couldn't control his strength, accidentally choked Liu Yeye to death. They finally got what they deserved. The dust has settled. I gently stroked my slightly swollen belly, nestling happily in Cheng Yu's arms. In this life, my happiness has only just begun.